My son was shot in the head and killed at a house party with an illegal gun. After he was killed, no one spoke up for weeks. But that's the gun control lobbyist claims their policies will save lives and reduce violence. Well, these policies did not save my son.
A crazed drug addict broke into my home, pinned me down on the bed, punched me in my face repeatedly, and then he strangled me. I knew he was going to kill me, and I wondered what my daughter would see when she came home. No, I started fighting for her life. I fought to my gun in the dresser. I pointed it straight at him, and he stopped in his tracks. If storage laws required me to lock my gun up, I never would have been able to get to my firearm in time.
My son's death was a result of a criminal with an evil heart, a sickening reality of the
My story is one of the estimated 2 million lives saved by guns each year. I was and I always will be my own first responder, and I will raise my children to be the same for themselves. My name is Mary Forges, and my firearm saved my life.
My name is Lucretia Hughes, and I am proud to be a part of the DC Project, where we believe education, not legislation, is how we will save lives.
If you survived a tragedy and want to make a difference, share your story with the DC Project.
If you are a survivor of a violent attack and you need a community who supports you and your right to protect yourself, please consider joining or supporting the DC Project, Women for Gun Rights, at dcproject.info.
Who wants smoke with me? Who wants smoke with me? Who wants smoke with me? Who wants smoke with C? Who wants smoke with me? 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 Who wants smoke with C?
And tonight, in a brand new interview, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is telling CNN's Christiane Amanpour that Donald Trump will likely be the Republican nominee.
No better than to say or do, and it will require us defeating those most extreme measures and the people who promote them. There wasn't this little tail of extremism waving, wagging the dog of the Republican Party.
Defeating their leader is Donald Trump. Even you have said that you expect him to be the Republican nominee. How does this change at all?
And no credibility left by any measure.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Pablo Pacheco, and I am your host. On compliments of Lucretia Hughes Kluken and her husband Dave Kluken of The Real News with Lucretia Hughes and Dave. Hopefully you guys have fun out there at the event. And for the 58 minutes late, I apologize. My computer decided it wanted to up. That was fun, to say the least. So my apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for the people that are listening. And ladies and gentlemen, I got some news. Got some news for the 8 people plus me that are in the chat on Rumble. We are also on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. YouTube finally gave me understand that you said some things in the comments 5 years ago about the jibbity jab. Look, we're gonna go ahead and give you some leeway, Pacheco. We're gonna let you talk about the vaccine. Don't worry. Yeah, about that thing 5 years ago. Yeah, bygones are bygones. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are on other platforms, including YouTube. Now, they gave me an opportunity. So now the question is how long will it take before YouTube kicks me off? But I digress. We're here, ladies and gentlemen, and we're on Rumble. If you are on the multiple platforms that we are streaming, please don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Likes are free. For those of you that decided to dip because it took forever and a day, again, my apologies. But if you guys decide to tune in later, again, likes are free. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. For some weird reason on Rumble, hey, Chris Palaska, we gotta fix this. People are getting notices that my show is live literally 24 hours later. And it's not just me, because as funny as this is, I'm getting notices. You guys gotta fix that. But I digress. Please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification bell. And whenever we get the announcements, we get the announcements. If not, you saw the commercials. The Real News with Lucretia Hughes and Dave are religiously on at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the East Coast. 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Central Time Zone, for those of us, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget to follow me on X, ladies and gentlemen. You can follow me on X because I have a day job and I'm studying for the bar exam. Hopefully I can pass this sucker. But I comment a lot on X at Ablo_Pacheco. Again, that is Ablo_Pacheco. Furthermore, if you like what you hear, don't forget to support me and the Ablo Pacheco channel by sending a cash app. Support the Burger Fund at $JPACHJR 1980. Again, that is $JPACHJR 1980. And ladies and gentlemen, you saw the merchandise. You saw the gear. Fallback USA, the number 2.myshopify.com. Again, that is Fallback USA, the number 2.myshopify.com. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to support the LIT Fund, the Long Island Iced Tea Fund, by sending The Real News with Lucretia Hughes and Dave a cash app at $Lucretia Hughes 44. Again, that is $Lucretia Hughes. I was supposed to send money to Dave as he had a birthday, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I'm putting him on the spot. Happy late birthday, Dave. Hashtag Team Dave. The man of the hour, the guy behind the boards. Without him, the show wouldn't be what it is. And I'll be quite honest, without The Real News with Lucretia Hughes and Dave giving me the encouragement when I did these little video shorts with them, I wouldn't be doing this as a hobby right now. And to be quite honest, I'm almost tempted, if I don't pass the bar exam the next 2 times, so July, if I fail in July, I'll be taking the February 2026 exam. If I don't pass then, I might end up taking this full time. We'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. But I digress. For the 5 people productions, what I spent my money on, because I got paid this week, again, sorry, I owe David Dave deserves a 20-ounce steak fund money. I bought a Cancer Sucks shirt. Weird reason. Pacheco, what's going on,
You big dummy.
Well, I bought a Cancer Sucks shirt with The Real News with Lucretia Hughes and Dave that have the big C. And I bought that shirt to show my support for them. And I also got... It's because there are a couple of other people that effed around and they found out. And ladies and gentlemen, I had to talk about it. But when I saw the shirt in military green, I figured shirts. Ladies and gentlemen, with that said, we're going to go ahead and go on to the topic at hand. Ladies and all idiots, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy, boy did he get himself in trouble, and boy did he break several rules. And when he broke those rules, let's just say things didn't look too good for him. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and show you right now. This, ladies and gentlemen, is his official YouTube channel, this dummy. He was a Venezuelan seeking asylum in the United States. He crossed into the United States via my neck of the woods. He went through, he crossed. He was supposed to do a check-in. Because he was supposed to do a check-in, that meant he was supposed to report to somebody. He didn't. Ladies and gentlemen, here's what this guy decided to do. This guy decided he was going to go ahead and make some dark humor. This is what went down.
Bueno, muchachas, para que sea más rápidamente llevemos todo. Y ahorita les voy a hacer un live. Ustedes dirán si es o no es un buen negocio.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this guy, LeitoOficial, decides he's going to go ahead and go into business selling clothes. Okay, no big deal, that Jay-Z would say. However, ladies and gentlemen, this is where he decides to go from
Muchachos, he concluido que de comida de la mejor calidad. Ahora vamos con esto.
Ladies and gentlemen, he says, we got 1 bag, we got 2 bags, we got 3 bags of the best quality.
Los Bower. Mira los Bower. Coblan, blanquitos. Artificiales, no toquemos puro Bower natural. ¿Sí me entienden? Papi, ustedes dirán, te regalan lo más picha. Me la voy a comer yo ahorita viéndome una película. No respires 2, la mejor película que puede haber de ficción. Muchachos.
Guys, these eggs are artificial eggs. And then basically, we're going to go ahead and go prison style. But ladies and gentlemen, it gets even more messed up. If we can go ahead and find this gentleman, again, he got pendejo of the year right now. Or I'm sorry, pendejo of the decade. He might end up getting pendejo of...
Un llamado a todas las mujeres venezolanas que están embarazadas.
This is where it gets bad. I'm giving you this announcement to all of the Venezuelan girls that want to come to the United States. If you're planning on getting pregnant, it's important that you know this.
Que la deuda en el hospital o en la clínica será paga automáticamente gracias a papá Biden.
Yes. To make sure that we heard pendejo de los primer 25 años, like pendejo of the quarter century. Venezuelan woman, and you get these hospital bills, don't worry, they're going to get paid. Thank you to Papa Joe Biden. Let's go ahead and rewind that just to make sure that's what he said.
Paga automáticamente gracias a papá Biden.
Yes, Biden. This dude is like Joe Biden. I swear to God, he's not even in office. He hasn't been in office for almost 4 months, and he's like the...
Que gracias a papá Biden los recursos son bien administrados y cada taxi de muchos venezolanos que están haciendo las cosas bien. Porque esto es una cadena. Capichi, gracias a que recibí la ciudadanía junto a mi esposa por mi hija ciudadana americana, ya también empezaré a pagar los taxis. Pero
All right, so he's basically saying, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the everything free, the hospital bills taken care of, the food taken care of. And you know what? Me along with my pregnant wife, we are going to become U.S. citizens. Thank you, taxpayers. Yes, this dumbass actually said that. He actually said those words. But ladies and
Al menos que pedir dinero también me toque pagar taxis. Capichi, bueno, aunque no lo creo, es mejor pedir dinero porque realmente no voy a pagar taxis así nomás.
so he says, I'm going to continue begging for money because I don't want to pay taxes like you guys. It's better to beg for money, pedir dinero, when you then to pay taxes. Yes, this dumbass actually said that. He actually said he said the quiet part out loud. But ladies and gentlemen, greatest hits. We're gonna go into the greatest hits of this dumbass, ladies and gentlemen, right here.
Bueno, mi gente, para aclarar todo ese malentendido, capichi, muchachos, aquí les muestro la manera de cómo comprar las cosas gratis.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that misunderstood, let me go ahead and show you how to get free things, is what he says. And you think that it's so high, man, I didn't have a choice but to coupon. Man, no comment, no comment. But ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go ahead and show you what really goes on, what he really does.
Los cupones. Si miren, con estos cupones, papi, tú puedes llevar todos estos productos totalmente gratis. Y también puedes llevar algunos zarcillitos también con los cupones. Ya tú sabes, pero ese es otro código nuevo. Ya eso es con otros cupones y con otro código, ¿capiche? Por ejemplo, con los cupones, muchachos, miren, podemos llevar jugo, milk, water.
Gotta give him a little bit of credit, though. At least he's learning how to speak English, right? Gotta give him a little bit of credit. At least that type of credit. Kudos to you. Kudos to you, Leito. You actually said milk and you said water. It's all good.
Lo que tú quieras de fruta. Pero con estos cupones, muchachos, puedes llevar todo del Walmart gratis. Y también puedes...
Well, ladies and gentlemen, he's basically like, with that one coupon, I can go ahead and get everything for free. And that's where the video that I showed you anything for free in that regard. This is the video that pissed the whole world off, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Invadir.
All right, so listen up. State Farm.
No more ads, please, come on, no ads.
He pensado invadir una casa.
I thought about invading an abandoned home in the United States.
Suspenden cuenta. Si una casa no está habitada, podemos confiscarla. Sus comentarios para...
That's right. Now, this was being said. You can invade an abandoned home in the United States, and that's what I'm thinking about doing. Ladies and gentlemen, we went over the doctrine that he was using, but we went over how he was actually making people mad. Ladies and gentlemen, quickly.
You big dummy.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and move over to what happened to Leito for that specific video. Ladies and gentlemen, he got arrested by them because he failed to report. This guy wanted to be the loudest person in the room, and so the moment that happened, this guy Leito, right? And the reason why it was because at that time, and we went over this, Nicolás Maduro, the president of Venezuela, was refusing to accept. A new sheriff came in town, a new administration came in town, and he changed his tune real quick. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You heard right. Now let me go ahead and translate that literally, saying LeitoOficial, the guy that talked about invading abandoned homes, was deported. Let me go ahead and rewind that for you so that you hear that again. But yes, translating from English to Spanish, he was deported. And yes, he was deported because of that previous video that we played. Muchachos, he pensado en... This is where the Venezuelan people were not happy about the entire situation. Now, normally you would think, okay, they're not happy. No, ladies and gentlemen, it's not what you think. It's not what you think at all. He got deprived of his liberty in Venezuela, ladies and gentlemen. Fue imputado por el Ministerio Público, that basically under arrest in Venezuela. Why? What did this dummy do over there? Ladies and gentlemen, this dumbass was actually going through the same thing in Venezuela. Basically, he got charged with inciting hate. It's not what you think. That particular charge is equivalent of disturbing the peace, basically. In other words, this dummy didn't know when to stop. Ladies and gentlemen, I forgot. I'm sorry, the volume was muted. Let me go ahead and start over.
Ocupar casas en Estados Unidos, fue imputado por el Ministerio Público y privado de libertad. Según el fiscal general de la República, Tarek William Saab, Leonel Moreno fue detenido por delitos de promoción e incitación al odio y...
So again, he got charged with inciting hate, but again, the way that they have it written in Venezuela, and even when he landed in his home base.
Lucro por trabajo de niña o niña, y será la Fiscalía 45 Nacional contra del procedimiento. Saab asegura que a través de sus redes sociales publicó contenido de carácter delictivo, incitando al odio contra los ciudadanos venezolanos.
What he basically said was this guy was live streaming, literally doing the exact same shit that he did over here that got him the attention that they got him over here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy. Now they could be saying, you know what? Why didn't he just stay in the United States? He's your problem. Didn't he act crazy on the plane home as well? Oh no, Christy. We're gonna get into that as well. We're gonna get into that as well. Oh boy. He didn't act crazy per se. We're gonna get into that as well. Oh boy. This guy was something else.
Y utilizaba a su hija menor de edad, mancillando de esa manera a su propia familia para lucrarse TikTok.
Basically using his kid to gain sympathy votes. And here's the thing about Venezuela, even though they're under a socialist regime, the thing is the majority of the people in Venezuela are conservative. Well, we won't go there. That last group of people that were fleeing the country toward the end of last year that were sent up to the United States the first time, El Tren de Aragua, some of the members of that gang are part of them. They're basically the equivalent of the German brown shot up for political offenses. Yes, that actually happened. The majority of them are conservative. The thing is the moment they found him using his kid, yes, he gets dumbass of the quarter century now as a result, pendejo of the first 25 years of the century, basically. When he used his kid, the way that he used his kid, the people over there were for this man.
You big dummy.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this guy, LeitoOficial, decides he's going to do even dumber things. Ladies and gentlemen, that's where the plane extra, to say the least. Yes, Christy, you beat me to a fault. It's not what you think, because the disturbance wasn't necessarily caused by him. If these darn ads would stop. There it is. The Secretary of the Venezuelan Migration Institute, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, here's a little bit of context. That guy that's going to talk in a couple of moments, that guy is actually wanted here in the United States for drug trafficking. The problem is, or he's the basic spokesperson. But yeah, there's a $2 million reward for his head here in the United States. And I don't mean 2 million bolivars, which is the equivalent of about $500 US. Or to us, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, here's what that guy had to say.
Porque ellos son así.
El número 2 del chavismo.
Como que fuera un zoológico, porque ellos son
Otros cargos en su contra.
un tour, sí. Es como que fuera un zoológico, porque ellos son así.
El número 2 del chavismo, Diosdado Cabello, recibió a los deportados y reveló que Leonel Moreno tuvo que ser custodiado especialmente durante el vuelo y explicó por qué.
Okay, so basically what they were saying is that the Venezuelan government was receiving the deportees, but they had to put Leonel Moreno, LeitoOficial, in special protection. Let's go ahead and hear why he has to be put in this special protection.
¿Qué?
Lo que ocurre.
A lot of other people were not happy that, I'm loosely translating it, a lot of people were not happy to see him on the plane.
Fue para que los venezolanos fuesen señalados en el mundo de ser delincuentes. De muchos de los que estaban allí venían bravos. Desde el primer momento hubo que prestarle una seguridad especial aparte.
Basically he's saying that the other guys that were on the plane were extremely, were acting with anger, rabia, like anger, who thought that he could do no wrong. Basically, the F around and find out Spanish edition. Ladies and gentlemen, what this guy decided to, what happened there was the people saw him on the plane on the way back to Venezuela, are blaming him for their situation. Por tu culpa, aquí estamos, esta situation. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I can't necessarily say as I blame him. I would say not happy with the fact that we deported him because of racism. No. They're mad, ladies and gentlemen, as you're gonna see, they're mad that we didn't send his ass to Guantanamo Bay. Yes, they actually wanted El Salvador. You'll see this in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Qué bonito se le cumplió su sueño, that it was that he had a dream of not working in the United States. And now in his country, he won't have to worry about a damn thing. Que con él, a ella también debía estar deportada. In other words, why aren't they deporting the wife? Because the wife was complicit in the bullshit. Que tengan hijos en Venezuela y para que lo mantengan maduro. Well, why didn't he just have kids in Venezuela? Maybe the Venezuelan government should take care of them. And a lot of comments were missing, where's the wife? The wife is an accomplice. He received what he deserved. Recibió lo que merece. He received what he deserved. In other words, now look, he should have been in Seco. In other words, they wanted his ass sent to El Salvador. His own people. This is a Venezuelan YouTube page. They're mad at us for not sending his ass to El Salvador. LeitoOficial de familia, he had to get separated on the plane ride back because they were not happy. Ladies and gentlemen, that was an ass whooping. I wish that, and we would be making fun of him for the next 30 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. But yes, the people were not happy, including myself. Yes, there ever was one, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I would love to see that ass whooping on the way back. Yes, and I'll be quite honest, some of us could, take him to that advice as well. We gotta work from the bottom, and they come for you. Returning to your residence will be a slim possibility. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, but the comments get even better. The comments get even better. Hay que protestar. Pobre muchacho. Now he needs to protest. He needs to cry and protest. Poor guy. Money por parte de la hija que a lo mejor ni es de él. For part, mujer lo va a seguir en Venezuela. Now, his wife is next. In other words, his wife's on her way back over here as well, ladies and gentlemen. Hombre, let's see. Arepa, chicha morada, empanada, vale pena, leito, bread with meat in the middle. Really, really good. Real tasty. Chicha morada, basically like crushed chicharos, or these little beans or whatever. Crushed peas, basically. Empanadas, vale la pena. In other words, it's worth it. Oh boy. Another comment, Leito era un desertor, and now they're about to punish him. And yeah, he's actually gonna get it even worse. And the reason why he's gonna get it even worse is because he's played the game right. All he needed to do is give us the game on how the Venezuelan army works, and we would have treated him like a king. Dumbass. I don't understand it. Why? But yes, Glory Bell. Oh, but let's see other comments. Gracias Dios. Thank God. Jaja chido. In other words, great. Que bien chido. It's like saying que bien padre. You know, great. Great. No dijo mentiras, era todo. Andaba robaron los dos. Y él subió information, but supposedly he got into it with his wife, and he also mistreated his daughter. And you get what you deserve. Leito the poison. Who votes that he goes to prison, basically? Oh, and then of course the microphone. So yeah, they other people. Que alegría! How joyful! Que le den allá 300 años. May they give him 300 years in the prison. Oh, we sent him. They're mad that we didn't send him to Guantanamo. They're mad that we didn't send his ass to El Salvador. We're gonna take a quick break. And for those of you on other platforms, this concludes the show over. We're gonna go over Mahmoud Khalid because he sunk himself, and I got the evidence. Thank you to Canadian. You know what? Let me go ahead and put that in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. We're an interactive show, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go ahead and put that in the chat. His name, Viva Fry. You can look for him on Rumble. Yes, he is the man of all men, let me tell you, in that regard. So yes, look for First Amendment extraordinaire here in the United States. Maybe Venezuela has Groupon. Oh boy. But yeah, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to read the Supreme Court order regarding Abrego Garcia. He was the guy that was of removal under the Convention Against Torture Treaty, ladies and gentlemen. When we get back on Hablo Pacheco, please stay with us.
My son was shot in the head and killed at a house party with an illegal gun. After he was killed, no one spoke up for weeks, but that's part of the street life. The gun control lobbyist claims their policies will save lives and reduce violence. Well, these policies did not save my son.
A crazed drug addict broke into my home, pinned me down on the bed, punched me in my face repeatedly, and then he strangled me. I knew he was going to kill me, and I wondered what my daughter would see when she came home. No, I started fighting for her life. I fought to my gun in the dresser. I pointed it straight at him, and he stopped in his tracks. If storage laws required me to lock my gun up, I never would have been able to get to my firearm in time.
My son's death was a result of a criminal with an evil heart, a sickening reality of the street life.
My story is one of the estimated 2 million lives saved by guns each year. My name is Mary Forges, and my firearm saved my life.
My name is Lucretia Hughes, and I am proud to be a part of the DC Project, where we believe education, not legislation, is how we will save lives.
If you survived a tragedy and want to make a difference, share your story with the DC Project.
If you are a survivor of a violent attack, supporting the DC Project, Women for Gun Rights, at dcproject.info.